Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the February 25th, 2025 Planning Board meeting. Let's start with the pledge, please. Allegiance to the flag of the United States. I'd like to start with some standard announcements here. The emergency exits are to your left and right on the side of the room or out the back. The restrooms are also out the back and to the left. Please be sure to sign in if you haven't done so. The attendance sheet on the table in the back of the room. And there are business cards with contact information next to the sign-in sheet to take with you with email address and phone numbers for the planning department, as well as any resolutions that we're going to be reading this evening. Copies of which are back there as well. Please silence your cell phones so you don't disturb those who are presenting before the board. And also, please take any conversations you may like to have amongst yourselves out the back of the room and close the doors so that it doesn't disturb those, again, presenting before the board. First up, we have some meeting minutes for approval. Lisa, you had 3 of them to the board this week and last. So I'll start with, we'll ask anyone here, that everyone is attending, so does anyone have any comments for any of them for Lisa?
Nope.
Not? No? Okay. I'll take a motion to approve all 3.
I'll move.
Ernie moves.
Second.
Joe seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried 4-0. Correspondence. Nothing new here in front of us this evening. Boards and committee updates. Dave Condon is out, but Mike Guinan is here. If Mike, you have anything you'd like to?
Nothing to update, but last week's meeting was very short, and this week's was postponed until tomorrow, so we haven't had our meeting yet this week.
Okay, that's true. We have town board meeting. The next one is tomorrow, so no updates from Mike. Keith, next up for the planning board.
Good evening. Keith Maynard, project manager for the town of Victor. Your next planning board meeting is Tuesday, March 11th at 7 p.m. New on the agenda will be the Jones Pole Barn at 1075 Strong Road. Applicant is requesting approval to construct a 32 by 36 foot barn with a 10 by 18 covered exterior pad on a 6.5 acre parcel. And then the preliminary application for Timberview Estate subdivision, which is on Klein Road, 74.5 acres. Applicant is requesting approval to develop 24 single-family lots, again on 74.5 acres. Project will consist of 20 lots on a dedicated road and 4 lots on a separate private drive with access to Klein Road. This will be the second step in a 3-step process for a major subdivision for them. The sketch plan was acknowledged complete on September 24th, 2024. And then any carryovers from tonight.
Okay.
Questions?
Any questions for Keith? No? Okay,
Okay,
great.
thank you.
Thank you, Keith. Just bring to your attention that we do have 7 items on the agenda this evening. However, number 6, the Nickloff subdivision, has been removed until tentatively the next meeting on March 11th. And there are 2 items relating to the Bluestone Trail project. The first one is the subdivision for 7200 Rawson Road. That one may not have gotten postcards timely to everyone, but it is the same applicant, so anyone who got a postcard for the Bluestone Trail certainly would be here for that as well, the first one. So with that, that is our first item up on the agenda this evening. It's for 7200 Rawson Road, minor subdivision. It currently is an open public hearing. The applicant's requesting approval to subdivide 18.5 acres from the 22.5 acre tax parcel, with the remaining 4 acres to consist of existing light industrial building and parking. This application was approved on March 12, 2024. Good evening.
Good evening. I'm Ryan Destro from BME Associates.
Here with me tonight representing the applicant, Rawson Community LLC, is Jim Barbado. Tonight, we are requesting minor subdivision approval for a two-lot subdivision at 7200 Rawson Road. This was approved by the planning board on March 12th, 2024. However, the applicant delayed the filing of the subdivision until it was determined which municipality would accept the sanitary sewer flows from any future development from the property. I'll touch on this in my next application tonight, but just for your information, the village, Victor, has provided a written notice that they will accept the sanitary sewer flows from the subject property. The subdivision plat remains the same as what was approved by the planning board last year. And just to recap, the two-lot subdivision of the existing parcel located at 7200 Rawson Road includes an overall parcel of 23.7 acres, 22.5 of which are located in the town of Victor, and then the other 1.2 are in the village of Victor. Out of the 22.5 acres located in the town, 18.5 acres are proposed to be subdivided out for the applicant to close on the proposed lot number 1. This is reserved for the future PDD development, and that's on the western portion of the property shown on the map on the screen. The remaining lands would be on proposed lot number 2. That'll consist of 4 acres in the town of Victor, 1.2 acres in the village of Victor, and that will be retained by the current landowner, 7200 Rawson Road LLC. Lot 2 will also include the existing light industrial building. The application is consistent with the PDD application approved by the town board in December of 2023, as the residential development will be on the 18.5 acre western parcel to be created. No improvements or changes to the land are proposed with this application. We also received an email in which Labella noted that they reviewed this application and find it consistent with what was previously approved in 2024. So with that being said, I'm happy to answer any of your questions.
Great, thank you. Wes, anything to add for this particular one? I know we're going to have a lot of discussion on the second.
Yeah, not this particular application. As the applicant said, Labella doesn't have any comments on this. It's pretty straightforward.
Okay.
No
Joe,
concerns.
Any questions?
I've got nothing.
Okay, Scott? Ernie?
Nope, seen a lot.
Okay. Yeah, this one is the most straightforward of the two. Clearly, it's just a subdivision, and as you stated, nothing is proposed to happen on Lot 2, right?
Correct.
And the next one we'll be discussing later on in the agenda. So this is an open public hearing, which I intend to close, but the public is here. If anyone has any questions regarding the subdivision, not the actual proposal for Lot 1, please feel free to step up to the mic, ask your question, but being none, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Move.
Ernie moves.
I'll second.
Got seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Carried, so the public hearing is closed. I will read the resolution for the subdivision of 7200 Rawson Road. Whereas the planning board made the following findings of fact, and this is for application 1 MS 2025. And there are 8 whereases. Whereas the town of Victor Planning Board considered whether to segment the seeker review of the minor subdivision application as opposed to a non-segmented review, and limited circumstances exist for which a segmented review may be justified. And whereas the planning board finds that the proposed minor subdivision is functionally independent from the overall proposed 7200 Rawson Road PDD development, in that the minor subdivision would create a single new tax parcel that delineates the 2 discernible sections of the PDD, including the residential use component of the project referred to as the westerly section, and the light industrial and commercial use referred to as the easterly section. Consistent with the site layout of the adopted preliminary plan development plan for the PDD, and whereas the creation of a new tax parcel is functionally independent of any future plans to develop the westerly section residential portion of the PDD, and an approval of the minor subdivision does not commit the planning board to approve any future site plan or subdivision applications associated with the 7200 Rawson Road PDD, and a minor subdivision would not result in piecemeal development because no development is proposed or would occur with said minor subdivision application. And whereas the proposed minor subdivision at any potential future proposal for development do not share a common impact that would result in a potentially significant adverse impact, even if the impacts of single activities are not necessarily significant by themselves. Whereas the planning board reviewed the unlisted action on February 25th, 2025, and identified no significant impacts, now therefore it be resolved that a segmented seeker review of the minor subdivision application is no less protective of the environment than if the minor subdivision were to be considered in a non-segmented manner with development plans for the westerly section of the PDD, and that the project 7200 Rawson Road minor subdivision will not have a significant adverse impact on the environment, and the planning board hereby issues a negative declaration. And be it further resolved that the application of Rawson Community LLC minor subdivision entitled 7200 Rawson Road minor subdivision drawn by BME Associates dated February 2024, received by the planning board February 11th, 2025. Planning board application 01MS 2025 be approved with the following conditions. Conditions that must be met prior to chairman signing the minor subdivision plan. All three are standard. Conditions that are ongoing, standard conditions that must be adhered to. One is standard. Two, that the approved subdivision maps, including conservation easements, lot consolidations, and lot line adjustments, shall be submitted in digital format. Number three, that should any underground water conditions be encountered during construction, the developer is to address the encroachment and impact to the underground stream to the satisfaction of the town engineer, and be it further resolved that the planning board secretary distribute the planning board's approval letter. So, do I hear a motion for approval?
Move.
Ernie moves,
Second.
Joe seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
Carried 4-0.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Item number 2, this is a public hearing, Elliott Pole Barn, 6415 Bortle Road. Applicants requesting approval to construct a 60 by 40 pole barn on the 4.27 acre parcel. Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you for adding me to tonight's agenda. So yes, I'm seeking to construct a 60 by 40 pole barn on our 4.27 acre property at 6415 Bortle Road, zoned residential 2. This will be 2,400 square feet at ground level, 1,200 square feet in the attic, with a height at the peak of the roof, 29 foot 7 inches. And I see you have some pictures of the site here. Thank you for sharing that. The intended use of this structure will be for storage of vehicles, RV, travel trailer, lawn equipment, camping gear, firewood, so miscellaneous storage use for this facility. There will be no utilities connected, as this is a storage building only. No habitable space inside the building. And there's no plans to install any new driveway for access to this building. Primary access to the site will be from the east, using my existing driveway and the lawn between the barn and the house. I do plan occasional access through the west side of the site, which does go through a conservation easement. However, landscaping and mowing of that strip is allowed as per the restrictions of the easement. I'm trying to see if there's anything else here. I think that covers an overview. There was a number of questions from code enforcement and Labella, which I've provided written responses to, but in the interest of time, I'll open it up for general questions.
Okay, thank you. I guess we'll start on Joe's end of the table. Joe, you have any questions for the applicant?
I don't know.
Okay. Ernie?
What color is it going to be?
It's going to be charcoal in color with a white roof.
Sounds good. Thanks.
Thanks.
Scott?
I'm just glancing at some of the correspondence from Labella regarding the grading plan around the structure. Is that forthcoming?
So one of the responses I sent in, I was asking if the board would be willing to accept some of the images I submitted in lieu of a grading plan. I did speak with some surveyors, and the pricing I received to get a certified grading plan was much higher than expected, and I've already exceeded my budget for, for certified stamp drawings. I'm already about $2,000 in for certified stamp drawings for code enforcement and the conservation board, so I was hoping to avoid another stamp drawing cost if I could avoid it. But I did submit some additional pictures to show additional information about grading, and I was hoping that would suffice.
So based on what you submitted here, the site drains towards the street, is that correct?
That's correct. It drains to the north towards the street.
And it looks like it's, based on the interval of the contours, it's pretty significant. You've got, in the area, it looks like you've got 4 or 5 feet headed in the northerly direction. So, I don't know, I'll wait and see if Wes has further comments on this issue.
Okay, I think one of the reasons that you received those comments regarding grading was specifically for drainage around that pad. And I may ask Wes to comment on that as well, but I was looking at it and you know, clearly the grading was done around is it a garage or a barn next to the house? It's already.
Oh, the detached
Yeah,
garage?
yeah.
Correct, yep.
So that shows up on the LiDAR contours, but since the the LiDAR hadn't been shot before you, or after you did your grading for where the barn is going, you don't have that luxury. So hence the need to review more carefully the grading around the pad. And I don't, Wes, we had a chat about this in the staff meeting, but maybe you want to elaborate some more?
Yeah, I guess, recognize, let me go back to this photograph that's on the screen, right? And I guess what I understand is maybe the contours that are depicted on this image on the screen are not reflective of existing conditions or are not reflective of what's shown in the aerial photograph, is that right? Or are they?
The area with the circle in yellow, there has been change to the contour from what's shown on this diagram. That was when that gravel was put in,
Okay.
which you'll see the camper placed on there at the moment in that picture.
Got it, all right.
And that's the only change. The remainder of the lot is unchanged from there. One additional comment with drainage is when that gravel was put down, we did add 2 12-inch underground culverts on the east and west sides, which will be about 1 foot away from the perimeter of the building. And the intent of those is any rainwater coming off the south side of the roof would be directed to those culverts and then northbound towards the street following the contour, following the grade.
So do
towards the
those,
street.
they're underground pipes, is that what you're saying?
12-inch underground pipes, correct?
And
yeah.
they come out to daylight?
They do. Both sides are to daylight, correct.
Yeah, so from a reviewer's perspective, I'm just kind of talking off the cuff here. A reviewer's perspective, it's kind of difficult to understand what's going to happen with any surface water that's going to be coming off of that hill and maybe being directed around the building or, what's happening. We also don't, I guess now we have a verbal description of what's going to happen with the roof drainage, potentially. But, I guess the only thing that the planning board has in front of them right now is simply, a diagram of where the building is going to go or where it would go. But we don't have anything concrete in terms of identifying where any of the surface water is going to be going. And it sounds like nothing is going to be adversely affecting any adjoining properties, but I have nothing to confirm that with. So,
What kind of jumps out at me on that photograph up there is that there is quite a bit of upslope drainage coming right at the structure. You notice at the house, it levels off more towards the house and swales around it. But looking at just photographs, I'm not sure that that's been achieved with what we've been presented with so far. And I don't know how, I don't know how extensive that upslope drainage is in terms of area and runoff.
You did mention in your response to Labella's comments that you're going to provide a location of where those pipes are and where the drainage goes? Did you do that?
That's correct. So pending any other comments from this evening, I'll be providing a final update to my site plan, which I'll be resubmitting, and I will be adding those culverts onto the site plan, so that will be visible from that document.
Could you estimate right now, or at least, you have I think you have a laser pointer there. If you could show on that plan to your left, the screen to your left, where those pipes are, and then in your estimation, right, where does the drainage go? You'll need to either carry a mic with you or stay at the podium. Okay.
So at the, looking at the gravel pad, which is 60 by 40, so that is the intended build site location for the pole barn. You look at the, starting with the south edge there, so any rainwater running off the roof from the south down to this edge will follow a drainage culvert this way, headed northbound towards the street, as well as this way, headed northbound towards the street. Any runoff down the hill also is directed into those culverts, northbound towards the street this way. The grading here has already been replanted with some wild grasses, so there's no erosion happening on that grading there. So there's no worry about those filling up with mud or anything like that. And I can confirm after, it's been roughly 3 years since that grading's been in place, that there's no mud coming through there. It's all clear water coming through those drainage pipes underground there on the east and west side. Well, and as we mentioned earlier, with regard to the north side of the build site, any rain runoff from the roof will just follow that natural grade straight out to the street.
So again, where is and how long is each culvert? Are they just, like a 20-foot long piece of pipe next
So
to the
the,
driveway, or?
If you look at the gravel pad, it's 40-foot tall by 60-foot wide, and the culvert's maybe 2 feet longer on either direction, so I'd estimate maybe 44 foot, with daylight exposed on both ends, and a slight pitch to direct water through it to the north.
And
I'd
there's,
say it's roughly 18 inches out from the edge of that gravel pad underground.
and is there a drainage swale going east-west on the south side of the proposed
That's
structure?
correct. That's correct. Yep,
Means-
there's a slight ridge at the center, so that about 50% of the rainwater goes to the east culvert and 50% to the west culvert.
So you can tell it, because we're having to ask these questions and have you define it, that really is not a preferred way of putting in an application. I realize that there are costs to it involved for survey, but we need to clarify that.
Of course. And I will mention that this grading, it wasn't just me. I had Pooler come out and give me their professional opinion on what's the best way to grade around this pad. So this was done with some professional help from
So
Pooler.
did Pooler do that?
So they did all the work
created
on the
whole-
grading, yep.
So would you say that the elevation of the gravel that's there right now and where your RV's parked, is that higher to the north? Or, did you split the difference, like, with elevation?
It's just about split the difference, yeah. So it's it slopes off lower here, but there's a slope upwards here. So it just about splits the
A cut
difference.
and fill situation there, it's not all cut or not all fill.
That's right, yeah. This area here, we had some cut, and this back area had some fill, so they really just slid it down to make a level building surface and then compacted the gravel down for me. And that, one of the pictures I submitted, you'll see, shows the steepest part of that grade, which is right along here. So if you look at that picture with the snow on it, unfortunately, you can't see a ton with the snow,
I was going to say, that's not really helping.
but that is reflective of the steepest part of the grade. Everything else on there is less steep than what's shown in that picture.
Anything else you need, Wes? Or how are you, I'm trying to work with them here, but at the same time,
Yeah.
I want to make sure we have enough information to,
So my understanding is the only reason that this is before the planning board is because the structure is greater than 1,000 square feet. Otherwise, we wouldn't see it,
yeah.
right? So we wouldn't have that opportunity to make these comments if it was a smaller footprint, smaller structure, that sort of thing. And it would be handled administratively through the planning and building office.
I mean, honestly, the work's been done for the grading prep before
Yeah.
we approved the actual building project.
And looking at the contours, you know, it kind of looks like any surface water would be directed, those contours kind of point northward, right? I don't see that any of the contours there would result in water flowing westward, right, based
Right.
on the angle of the contours. So, yeah, maybe it's something to talk about with, you know, after this meeting, and take a look at the updated plan that you want to provide that shows us more information about the underground pipes and anything else we can think of that we'd want to see.
I just want to make sure we have the right and enough information or adequate information to allow you to assess that what's happened there
Yeah.
is going to function properly.
I guess my recommendation would be that if we know of more information that we want to see short of a stamped plan, let's let him know what that is.
Can Pooler provide what they did? They must have come up with some sort of grading.
I don't know that we worked any documentation for this work. This was all done on the site.
It would be helpful, short of the survey, to have them provide a statement or a description to the board as to what they did and where things drain and what they put in the ground, to better document what is out there from the people that actually put it in the ground.
I'm happy to ask them, yeah.
I would suggest that we hold off approving this until we get that information and Wes can assess it, and then we'll pick it up at the next meeting that you're able to have all that information back before the board.
Okay.
So, trying to work with you here, and I understand the cost of engineering and surveying, but we do want to make sure that it's been done properly.
I just asked a question along those lines.
Sure.
You presented this drawing, which was done by a surveyor. Is that surveyor not available to do?
Well, that's, what that drawing there is, I actually used my computer to mark up an existing drawing that I had. So that, I had already purchased a stamped drawing for the conservation board when I modified the easement lines, and that's basically me marking up that drawing with the build site of the new, build site and the distance from the
Is the
property.
surveyor who did this drawing available to?
He's the one who quoted me $3,500 for a grading plan. So that's why I'm unfortunately not going to use him.
So perhaps, either whether Pooler has his own plan, their own plan, or can use the drawing that you adapted, you can provide additional information from there, and they can put a letter to that effect and attach it to their letter, you know, a modified version of that. That may help, and allow Wes to say, yep,
Yeah, I'll be happy to follow up with them and see.
it's adequate to show
Yeah,
that what's
certainly.
being done is not going to, I mean, you don't want your barn to flood or garage, so want to make sure that everything's well documented for the town.
Yep.
So, okay? All
Thank
right.
you.
Anything else, any other comments from the board? Joe, Wes?
Not right now.
Okay. I would say since this is a public hearing, let's see if there's any questions from the public. And then if not, I'll at least close the public hearing and we can address the details at the next meeting. So if there's anyone here that has a question or comment for the applicant or the board? Being none, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Move.
Joe moves.
I'll second.
Scott, seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
So the public hearing is closed. We will see the additional information that you provide, and I think we can probably move forward with it. Application, the next meeting that we are able to meet on this. So, okay?
Sounds good.
All right,
Thank you very much.
thank you. Okay, item number 3, Four Winds Chimney Site Plan Modification and Special Use Permit, 770 Canning Parkway. Applicants requesting approval to install overhead doors to the east building face and additional pavement installation along the east wall of the building to allow employees to load vans and trailers with necessary materials. Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Paul Colucci with DeMarco Group here tonight on behalf of our tenant, Four Winds Chimney. Joining me tonight is Dave Kristen. He's Chief Operations Officer for Four Winds. We are the owner of the building and also manage the property and the building proper. For those of you not familiar, Four Winds Chimney engages primarily in chimney and fireplace restoration, cleaning, repair, maintenance, as well as fireplace inserts and rehabilitation of the interior components of fireplaces. This will be their corporate headquarters. Many of you may be familiar with this property. It's currently occupied by Bristol Instruments on the westerly half of the building, 20,000 square feet. The total building is 40,000 square feet. We had a tenant in there, Dealer Docks. They moved out approximately a year ago. And the proposal is for Four Winds to occupy that vacant portion, as Bristol Instruments will remain in the current configuration and operation. Going back to the late 90s, around 1999, I think is when this building was originally constructed and approved by the planning board, there was a 20,000 square foot building addition proposed and approved. That building addition has never occurred, and that would have been on the easterly side where we're proposing the site improvements. So Four Winds business and their operation includes service vehicles. So the site plan modification is for the addition of a paved service area for staging of vehicles in the morning and after work day, where they're onboarding material for the day and then offloading it at the end of the day. We are proposing that the service area is accessed off a driveway connecting to an existing driveway on Canning Parkway. So we're not proposing a new connection to Canning Parkway. That existing driveway is actually under a ingress and egress and shared driveway access agreement between our property and the property directly to the east of us. The easement and agreement contemplates a construction of this nature, and once that connection is made, there will be a portion of shared maintenance between the portion of the driveway that we share. It's a pretty straightforward site plan. As you can see, we're adding pavement for the vehicles to be staged. They will be parked there overnight. The flow would be coming around the building and then heading kind of in a clockwise direction. There will be 3 overhead doors added on the east side of the building, and that's for material in and out for these service vehicles as they're going for their route on the day. We did take a look at, because we are in the Rodnickoy Creek Watershed District, adding essentially some stormwater management improvements. Along the easterly side or the lower side of the staging area is a perforated pipe and a sock that will capture the runoff off that new impervious area, and that will be directed into a water quality treatment unit before it's discharged and sent into a culvert that directs it to the Canning Parkway proper stormwater management. I know you have a long agenda. I don't want to over-explain the application. I think it's pretty straightforward. We did receive comments from town engineer, staff. We have responded to those in writing. And also, as Mr. Chairman, you read, we are looking for special use permit. As in reviewing this application, it kind of caught us a little off guard because we did meet initially with town staff that when the application came in and code enforcement officer looked at the permitted uses within light industrial, their use doesn't exactly fit. It was kind of a little bit of a gray area, but you drop down into the light industrial district regulations, and there is provisions where planning board can grant a special use permit based on the nature of the business and the underlying permitted uses and similarity to those in light industrial. So on top of site plan modification and consideration of special permit, we will be seeking a zoning interpretation from the Zoning Board of Appeals next week.
Thank you, Paul. So as you just mentioned, March 3rd is a ZBA meeting that we'll be considering that special use, and So we really can't take action on that this evening, but I certainly open up to the board for questions and also the public, because it is a public hearing as well. So with that, is ready. Joe, questions?
So two things. I had a question about the signage on the front, but then I read your comments, and I'm happy with that. And then I did notice the question about what will be stored outside the building, fuel or propane. From my past life, OSHA will not allow you to store propane inside the building unless it's mounted on the vehicle. So spare tank for the forklift probably should be in a cage on the outside somewhere. So,
Thank you.
okay, that's all I've got, though.
Thanks, Joe. Scott?
I don't think I have anything. I think it is straightforward. I think it's very straightforward. I have no questions.
Okay, Ernie?
What is the surface gonna look like? It's gonna be anodized, painted, or something
The
else?
surface of,
Building?
The building.
so the, if you pull up the architectural elevations, I can explain the proposed overhead doors. Yep, that's perfect. So as you can see, today, the building facing east is a repetition of those bays with a stone wainscoting on the lower half, and then there's dark bronze anodized aluminum windows. So we're basically going to cut out 3 sections of those repeating elements and add overhead doors with metal siding that will match the metal siding above it, Ernie. So essentially keeping the same character, same color palette of the building and not changing.
Sounds nice.
Anything else, Ernie?
No, that's all I have.
Okay. Yeah, pretty straightforward, in my opinion, as far as that goes. I guess I'd make sure that, I did have the question about drainage. You're adding a lot of impervious surface. It looks like you've treated that by providing some additional runoff to a stormwater retention
Water
plant?
treatment unit.
Treatment unit, okay.
Yep.
So, and I suspect you have the engineering calculations to go with it.
Yep.
So with that, I'll defer to Wes, I guess, and if you had comments from Labella.
Yeah, Labella did issue a letter on this project dated February 20th, 2025. A number of comments, and it looks like they've all been addressed, right? We'll have to get an updated comment letter out, but let's see, the concrete walk and curb, there was just a minor modification to the plan to remove some of the line work. The lighting cut sheet, the proposed light fixtures, building-mounted light fixtures, they did provide a catalog cut sheet for the lights, and those are proposed to be full cutoff light fixtures. Stormwater management, we don't have any concerns with, just some labeling on the contours, and that's pretty much it. Just some cleanup work on the plan, and I think we're set.
Yeah, okay. Great. I think that's all I had, Paul, also, but it's a public hearing. I'll open it up to the floor to the public if anyone has any questions for the applicant or the board or the board's engineer. Seeing none, I will close the public hearing if Joe moves.
Second.
Seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So I guess we'll wait to see, hear from the ZBA, and we'll see you probably at the next meeting.
Yeah, obviously, we'd love to get a conditional approval from this board, subject to the zoning interpretation, but understand the way that,
It's not going to delay you much.
yeah, so we'd
put
be
you on
able
the
to be
next
back
agenda.
here the week after.
Yeah,
So your first meeting in March, correct?
yeah, March 11th, so.
Great.
I think you're seeing some pretty positive response and then nothing risky about it, so.
Yeah, and you know, I know you probably know this, but there isn't a specific district where their use in the town of Victor is a permitted use. So it's not a very uncommon type of use, but it was kind of a little confusing when we're thinking, all right, light industrial, it's perfect for this type of use, and then when you get into that gray area, it was mainly because of the percentage of work that they serve a certain type of customer rather than business to business. So in speaking with the code enforcement officer and town staff, everyone believes it is the right district and it's the right location, so we're hoping for a
Yeah, I would
positive
share their
interpretation.
opinion, I think, and if nothing else, it will make us perhaps approach the code to add an additional use that maybe isn't covered, so.
Yep.
Paul, one of the things that I noticed when I was looking at the code is that there are prohibited uses identified in the code for this district.
And they are
And-
not.
And this particular use is not identified as a prohibited use for the
That's
light
right.
industrial zoning district, so,
Yep.
for what that's worth.
Yes, so
So a
we'll be back
negative,
to see you.
so a negative approval or something like that.
Right.
Approval in the negative, like you're not, anyway, I'll let it go.
Well, good to see everyone. Appreciate
Okay,
your time.
thanks, Paul.
Thank you.
Okay, LSI looped driveway, 7796 State Route 251. Applicants requesting approval to connect the eastern and westernmost driveways with a 1,400-foot driveway to provide access to the vacant areas of the parcel.
Good evening. I'm Steve Schultz with MRB Group, here tonight with Jim Gozo and Greg Miller of LSI. They're kind of veterans of coming to the board. They've done so many things over the past few years out there. Route 251 acquisition essentially is the owner of LSI Solutions. They own 2 adjacent parcels on the north side of Route 251 with the LSI Solutions complex of buildings located on the west parcel and the east parcel being vacant. They're proposing to combine the 2 parcels into a single 59-acre lot and construct a 1,400-foot driveway to connect their easternmost driveway with the driveway behind the pondside building, which is right here. Driveway is for future growth and will not be put in service at this time. It'll be barricaded just beyond the Apple Store, which is over here, and at the edge of the parking lot over here.
That's Mac Ave, right?
Yep,
Okay.
yep, yeah, Mac Ave. I don't know, I call it the Apple Store, but yeah, it is Mac Ave, that's the actual business name. There's no other business-related improvements or impervious surfaces currently planned, just strictly the driveway. We will put in stormwater management facilities, there'll be bioretention areas. They'll collect all the runoff from the pavement, one's here and one's here. And we'll prepare a SWIP for the project because we are disturbing over an acre. We received comments from town staff and Labella, and we provided written responses. And I think we pretty much addressed everything. There's just a few SWIP-related items that we have to finalize and resubmit to Wes.
So Steve, can you clarify again, is this actually not going to be built, the whole thing's not going to be built, or are you going to build part of it, or right now?
They plan to build all of it.
Okay, but it's just going to be closed off?
Yep. It is now. There's posts that just beyond the, over here, just beyond the driveway into the Mac Ave. There's 2 bollards with a chain running between them. There's only about an additional couple hundred feet beyond that store right now. And they'll do the same thing on the other end.
Okay. And future expansion, would that entail combining parcels and,
Yep, we'll combine the parcels now. We submitted a separate subdivision application and a plat map. It was
Okay.
done by Robbie
Robbie Engineering?
Surveying. They've done all the survey work on the property over the years,
Okay,
so they're very familiar with the site.
okay. Board members, Joe, questions?
Do you know, I've read all the responses to Labella's questions, and I'm satisfied that.
Okay, all right. Scott?
I guess I understand from looking at your drawing that you're tying into an existing driveway, is that right?
Yes,
And so for the first 400 feet or so, there's an existing driveway, and then you pick up from there, and you're not reworking that area of it, you're leaving existing alone?
yep, we're leaving it alone. It was just rebuilt a couple of years ago
Okay.
in cooperation with Mac Ave.
Okay, that's interesting. When I first glanced at it, I thought it was a totally new connection.
Yeah, and when we did that 2 years ago, they got a new permit from DOT for the driveway entrance.
Did they?
Yep. Yeah, we had to relocate a pole
Yeah. I just keep coming back to our town code, but I can't apply that here, so sorry. I don't have any more questions.
Okay, Ernie,
No,
questions? All
I don't have any comments.
right. I guess I'll defer to Wes in terms of how the stormwater is being treated. Looks like you've got some infrastructure included in this that should cover that, but Wes, comments from Labella that you need to highlight?
Yeah, so we did issue a letter on this project dated February 21st, and a couple of comments on stormwater. Let's see. Looks like the bio-retention area detail on the notes and details includes an 8-inch gravel jacket where 10 inches is required in table 6.4 of the manual. And the applicant did respond to all of our comments. I don't know that we're going to have, I don't know that we take issue at all with what they've indicated here. So they've adjusted to 10 inches on the detail. The applicant to provide confirmation that the bioretention practices meet all requirements in section 6.4. Okay. Yeah, so looks like, Steve, you've indicated it's the intent of the project that practices meet the requirements of section 6.4. Okay. So I don't think we have any concerns beyond that with regard to stormwater. We did have a question about, we did ask you to opine on the wetland, the new updated DEC regulations for wetlands, and I'm just getting to your response now. And so there was a delineation done at some point in the past, is that what I understand?
Yeah, there was a delineation done, I think, in the late 2023
Yeah, and you're pretty far away from,
of this, the wetlands right here.
okay.
And I did talk to the wetland consultant about your comment and was told that there is a new DEC regulation that that allows smaller wetlands than the 12.4 acres or whatever it was before
Yeah, that's
to
right.
be jurisdictional. But even if this had the 100-foot buffer on it, we'd still be 200 feet away with our
Yeah.
with our work and even more than that with the driveway. So we didn't feel we would be impacting it in any way.
Okay. I think there's also, my understanding, there was a recent email from New York State DEC on this particular topic, and there's a little bit of discretion that a reviewing entity has in terms of identifying whether an applicant is conforming to the freshwater wetlands program. And so in this particular instance, I think I would feel comfortable with, since there's been a delineation, but there's not been a jurisdictional determination by,
No, we didn't
DEC.
think we were even close enough where it was worthwhile. And obviously the comment, we just got that, so.
right, okay. I don't have anything else right at this point.
Okay.
What does the DEC say in that email or whatever it is you're referring to?
Oh, let me see what it says here. I'll have to pull it up. It's going to take me a minute. Bear with me.
I'm just curious to know what their position is on this situation.
Yeah,
'Cause it affects a lot of projects.
it does. That's right.
Up in every meeting now.
I've heard there's been a lot of resubmissions.
Wait, while Wes is scrolling through, I'm going to open up the floor to the public, because it is a public hearing. Does anyone have any questions for the applicant on this application before I entertain closing it? I see none. Motion for closing the public hearing?
I'll move.
Ernie moves,
Second.
and Joe seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. So the public hearing is now closed, but Wes?
So just as an aside here, there's an email that came from DEC that wasn't necessarily providing legal guidance or directive, but I think it's just a little bit of conversation. So they've said municipalities are not legally required to advise their constituents to contact DEC before starting any groundbreaking projects. They have the discretion to determine their level of collaboration with DEC in the state's freshwater wetlands program. So I think it's going to take some time to figure out exactly, you know, what projects need to be submitted and what projects don't, so.
There's Mud, Scott?
Yeah.
Okay.
That helped out.
All right. Okay, any other comments, questions? I do have a resolution for this one, if you all are satisfied. Okay. So, I'll read the resolution on approval of this one. For the LSI Loop Driveway Application 3 SP 2025, whereas the planning board made the following findings of fact, and there's 11 of them, and whereas the Town of Victor Planning Board reviewed the unlisted action on February 25th, 2025, and identified no significant impacts, now therefore be it resolved that the project LSI Loop Driveway will not have a significant impact on the environment, and that a negative declaration will be prepared. Now therefore be it resolved that the application of Route 251 Acquisition LLC be approved with the following conditions. Conditions to be addressed prior to the chairman's signature on the site plan. Number 1 is standard. Number 2, that the comments in a letter dated February 21st, 2025 from LaBelle Associates be addressed. Number 3, comments from the fire marshal dated January 29th, 2025 be addressed. Comments, number 4, comments from the code officer dated February 18th, 2025 be addressed. Number 5, comments from the construction inspector dated January 24th, 2025 be addressed. And number 6, the comments from the stormwater program manager dated February 25th, 2025 be addressed. Ongoing conditions, and all 3 of them are standard. Number 3 is that the letter of credit for the project be established with the Town of Victor Town Clerk prior to pre-construction meeting. And be it further resolved that the planning board secretary distribute the planning board's approval letter. So, on that resolution, I hear a motion for approval.
I'll move.
Ernie moves.
I'll second.
Scott seconds. All in favor? Aye. Carried 4-0.
Thank you.
Okay, Steve. Okay, 5th item on the agenda this evening, Element by Weston at Eastview Mall. This is an open public hearing. Applicants requesting approval to develop a new 4-story, 23,580 square foot hotel with 123 rooms on a 91.4 acre parcel. It's located on the west side of the mall property on an existing paved parking lot between J.C. Penney and the former Lord and Taylor. And at the last meeting we asked for some architectural renderings day and night from different perspectives, amongst a few other items. So, good evening.
Good evening. Thank you very much. Fred Shelley from BME Associates, joined by the applicant's representative, Fred Lehman, the applicant EBHG1 LLC, also joined by Dale Turner from BME, who's part of our design team for this project. Again, just continuing with this request for site plan approval from the planning board for the proposed 4-story hotel located on the west side of the developed area of the Eastview Mall. Between the applicant and BME, we've submitted the following information in direct response and request from the planning board. We've submitted revised site plans which address the town staff and consultant comments. 2 items that were an applicant-driven revision include an increase of the number of rooms from 123 to 126, which was coordination of the architectural plans to bringing them up to where we are today. So there are 3 additional rooms proposed. So again, it's a total of 126. And the site plans do include the additional rooms in the site notes and also address that for the parking requirements as well.
Does that change the footprint, or do you put
No,
it in
the
a different
footprint
floor?
stays exactly the same. There's just on the, I believe it's 2nd, 3rd, and 4th level, there was an extra a room in there. So now they've been captured with the design of the building. So yes, the building footprint has stayed exactly the same as previously submitted. The other additional revision was an enlargement of the drop-off area at the front of the building to accommodate multiple buses for drop-offs there. That did include relocation of a few handicap parking, or I'm sorry, accessible parking spaces to the other three that were just on the opposite side of the main drive aisle along the front of the building. All of the accessible parking spaces will have an accessible route into the building as well, meeting the ADA requirements.
So with that, the drop-off, is that on the inside of the L, like in this area, or is it outside?
So the drop-off area is this hatched area right
Okay.
there. So we did have a few I believe it was three parking space, or three accessible parking spaces here. They've been relocated to this area. And we had previously some spaces there. They've just been moved over.
Okay.
So that's the main points of the site plan revisions. Again, there have been architectural elevations and renderings that have been submitted to the board. Mr. Lehman will be able to come up and walk the board through those. Again, we did provide written response letters addressing all of the staff and consultant comments, and then we've provided a series of visual simulations of the site, daytime and nighttime scenarios. Excuse me. The first, let's see, this one is the view from the west side of the site, looking into the site from Interstate 490. And you can see right there is the hotel, and it blends in with the mall behind it as well. The second view would be from High Street and Route 96, which would be a view from the south. And you can see here that the mall actually obscures where the proposed hotel will be, so that will not be visible in that location. The third one would be from Turk Hill Road and 96 entrance. Again, this red area here demarcates where the hotel will be, which is behind the existing mall building. So again, not visible from the public road. And then the last slide, this is from the Target site looking to the south, and here's the hotel, the proposed hotel, and the J.C. Penney building there. So daytime and nighttime scenarios, just so that the board has a good idea of what that area would look like.
So the purpose of those elevations was not just for looks, but to see, relatively speaking, the height of the building relative to the mall and different elevations that were discussed at the last meeting, Route 96, 490, or up higher. So before we go on to the next pieces, does the board have any questions about the elevations in particular? Ernie?
This is probably an exercise in futility, but made any inquiries of the state as to access directly to 490?
There have not been any discussions with the state for direct access to 490 from the site.
No. Good luck with it anyway,
Yeah.
I was wondering.
The state does not permit private
don't do
access
that.
to an interstate. It would have to have 250, I think, go up to the interstate, and then the mall would have to tie into 250, so. You're right. Scott?
So is the four-story hotel, is that then roughly plus or minus 2 stories above existing out there, with the exception of Von Moore? Is that pretty much elevation-wise what's being proposed?
Yeah, well, I believe the maximum building height allowed by the code was 35 feet, so I believe most of it, except for the Von Mauer and the other higher architectural aspects of the mall, were up above that. This proposed building, I believe, was being limited to just below 60 feet, so.
Below 60 feet?
Yes.
Was the finished floor on the main floor elevation lower than the existing former Lord and Taylor building? In other words, is it lower?
Yes.
Starting lower, and then that's why it looks on the other image?
Yeah, if we go to the first visualization,
Suzie, can you back up a few? There you go.
Yep, one more, or, I'm sorry, go back the other way.
2 more. That's it.
Right there. Yes, so the building does sit quite a bit lower than the first floor of the mall building. It's about a 5% slope through that parking lots, and we're a couple hundred feet from the building, so it does set it down. You can see about here is the top of the Penny's building, and then it gets us close to the same elevation. Yeah.
And what, do you know off the top of your head, what is a floor height for a hotel? Is it like 13 or 14 feet, or is it bigger?
I'll defer to Mr. Lehman if
12 feet? Okay.
Yeah.
Story?
Yeah, so that would, I suspect you've got more than 24-foot-high Lord and Taylor building out there, same with Penny's. So it seems like it would be 2 floors higher, but the total height would be less than multiple.
So I guess that poses a question in my mind is what drives the height? Why 4, based on this footprint versus say 3 on a larger footprint? How do you come to this particular sizing?
So the ability to build up is, it maintains parking areas out there as well. It keeps the footprint of the development down quite a bit. And also the topography in the site is such that it's easier to get a taller, smaller footprint building in there and make the site work for it versus trying to stretch that out over a larger area.
I think also, if I recall correctly, last month, or last time this project was before the planning board, a project representative talked about the increase in green space due to, the 4-story height versus maybe 3 stories or 2 stories that's more spread out. It offers you the opportunity to provide a little more green space on the project parcel.
So to that end, based on what you just said, then why wouldn't you be proposing a 6-story or 8-story?
I'll encourage it.
I'm just kind of wondering, what's the balancing act vertically?
It may be back at a later date to add some stuff after.
Mr. Lehman may be able to answer.
It's prototype for the hotel. The Marriott, excuse me, the Marriott Element is a 4-story hotel, so it's a very prototypical hotel for the Marriott Element. It's extended stay, 4-story works well. The 23 versus the 26 rooms was really a typo in the Marriott paperwork, so it was always supposed to be 26. It's just that the literature said it was 23 until you actually counted the rooms and realized that there was 3 more rooms. So that was
So that means
typo.
126.
It's 126.
So this is more of a prototypical.
The total prototype, and we took it right out of the book. So it lends itself into that property very well, the existing property. And then I think what really happens is from J.C. Penney out to the loop road that goes around, there's a natural grade that drops there anyway. So the building itself actually sits down in on the property on that parcel that was available from Will Murray.
Yeah, so that takes up some of it.
Kind of, you can see it from 490, but you won't see it from 96 at all.
Okay. Anything else, Scott?
No, I mean,
Just talking architecture at the moment, height.
I mean, from an architecture standpoint, appearance and how it relates to the other buildings, I don't know if I could really say much about that. I know that you and Al tend to look at that aspect of things. I would have a hard time coming up with architectural definition for East U Mall. It's like I can't say that this would agree with it or disagree with it, quite honestly.
Okay, Joe?
Well, to Scott's comments, I think the color scheme does meet the requirements for the town, and I appreciate a more accurate rendering. If you remember last time, I was concerned that we weren't seeing the actual picture. And I do appreciate the view sheds. That was one of my concerns as well. So the only lingering issue I have relative to that is signage along 96, but that's a future discussion, I think. So.
Okay.
But other than that, no, I'm good.
All right, the only other thing on the renderings, from my perspective, was it seemed like the night vision, the night renderings didn't have the lighting that you were proposing on the hotel itself.
I think the paperwork that was submitted did.
Well, I'm just saying you couldn't see any lights at all.
Before you
on
couldn't,
the building.
right.
So,
Last submission.
if I look at this one at night, like I don't see any lights on the facade of the hotel at all. And I thought there was a large white banding of lighting on the hotel itself.
There was other submissions that came in. What else is there? Flip through a little bit.
She may not have everything up in her pocket. Could you flip forward to the architectural renderings?
Pretty much all those pictures were what you submitted in this whole package. If there was another image,
You're talking about the night renderings or another image like this, only at night?
I don't recall seeing an image with lighting on that submitted.
There's no uplighting on the building, there's.
Well, there was like there was a large banding or something on the last,
Well, the orange band is,
Yeah.
the orange band is in there, so actually if I flip a couple pages here.
I won't be able to hear you on the mic though, so
Oh,
you can.
like that. So in the picture down below, or the picture up here, this is a wood, it's not wood, it's simulated wood made out of concrete, basically. Most of the body of the building is all EPIS, with different colors that are represented here, so they're off soft tones, blue and grays. This is actually the wood, it's just a band, it's just an accent stripe, basically. And then the stone product is every place where you see, you know, down below here and up on a couple of the main elevations shown in the different drawings. And then the only thing that's actually a Lucabon panel, that's a metal panel, is just the main portico in the front. So there's really only 5 EPIS colors, 1 stone, 1 accent band, and then the Lucabon that's on the portico that's, again, prototypical to the Element. It's exactly what's on every element that's being built. So those drawings all represent that. The only accent lights that are showing in there would be up in here, just in the main portico in the front. I thought there was some drawings that actually portrayed that. Wasn't anything else in that submission package? Because there was a lighting.
This.
Yeah. Yeah, we had these, and then we had
You're talking about the night shots,
Lighting.
right, Joe?
Yeah.
Hey, Susie, I'm gonna plug my laptop in, and that might do something to your image, because I wanted to display the picture from last time.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah, and I think it kind of gets drowned out with so much the back there, but they might.
There's a lot less lighting on the building than
Yeah.
what's portrayed off on the drawings. That's it right there.
You
That is
see,
that
that is
picture.
what Wes is bringing up
Yep.
shortly, you think. Yeah.
There you go.
This was a rendering that was provided at the last meeting. And I think, Joe, what you're asking about is the banding lighting that we're seeing up here, which I think you did describe, right? And then down here.
It's
And what-
very soft lighting. It's not, you know, it's not a lot of lumens that are portrayed off the building. It's just to accent the building a little bit. And if you really look, if you go back to the drawings or the pictures that show
Right.
the building without the lighting on it, but with all the night lighting around it, it's way less lighting than is coming off of the
You're saying
existing
that
buildings.
this lighting will get drowned out by the mall parking
Yeah.
lighting?
All day long, all night long.
Yeah. All right, I guess that would have been my only comment, but, all right, so that was our journey down architectural lane for a moment. I know you had some more comments you wanted to bring forward.
Thank you, President. Yeah, so with that, we covered the architectural, the site plan revisions. We did receive 2 additional review letters from the town landscape consultant and also the fire marshal. We didn't find any comments in there that we didn't feel that we couldn't address. So we'll be happy to be preparing those written responses and submitting them to the town. Lastly, the applicant does acknowledge the project will require some variances for signage through the zoning board of appeals, and we'll be making those applications. With that, any additional questions or comments on the site plan, we're happy to entertain.
We did talk about treatment of sewer discharge from the hotel, and that it would be heading towards Target, and there's a pump station down there?
A private pump station over there, and then that pump station pumps into the gravity that serves the remainder of the mall, and then that heads over to the town's pump station that the town is reviewing any upgrades that may need to be done and is coordinating with.
Okay, so that's an
the mall
ongoing,
Pardon me?
that's an ongoing conversation?
That's an ongoing conversation,
Yeah,
yes.
Okay. Anything else, Wes, on that?
For sanitary sewer in particular,
Yeah.
we are working on putting together a cost estimate for the actual replacement of PS 19, the public sanitary sewer, public pump station that's over by
Regal?
the movie theater.
Yeah.
So it's going to take a little bit of time. We're working on that, and I think we're waiting for, we might be looking for some more substantive responses to the Lobella comments, or if they've come in, I haven't had the opportunity to review them yet. So I'll look for those.
Right. Lighting at the site, I understand from the plans that you submitted that there are going to be 22 or 25-foot tall masts around the hotel proper. It's tall, there's like 6 tall or high mast lights that are going to be taken down.
Yes, there will be several existing lights that will be taken down. The lighting plan, 22 feet from grade +4, or +2 feet, so it's a 24-foot mounting height on that, for those LED dark
yeah.
sky compliant.
Personally, I noticed one light fixture that's being removed, and it seems to me that because it's being removed, you may end up with the dark spot on that one, and that's probably, I'm trying to figure out how to orient this thing. On the south lane of the building that parallels the Lord and Taylor structure, where it shows for a mast to be removed and smaller lights being put within the parking area, but not, I don't see where the lighting is being reestablished. And if you go to your drawing 10, I think it is. You have your set?
So yes, and that's basically going to be the main or the entrance into the upper parking lot, basically the Lord and Taylor parking lot. I believe, so the light pole that was being removed was being used to cast into the parking areas that were in there. However, just review of the existing light pole, if you continue over to the east of the one that's being removed, that one does cast light over. We have also provided the lighting point plot, so it does show coverage in those areas.
Yeah, it seemed like because it was going to be in the middle of a lane to access the reconfigured parking, that if you shifted it over to the, honestly, it's probably right there, but where's the portico? Oh, here it is. Okay, so I'm thinking way over there. It seems to me that there might be a low light issue there, so.
Okay, we can take a look at that.
it.
Yeah.
If it's not a problem, great.
Absolutely.
But it seems like if you put one more light there in lieu of the highlight,
Mm-hmm.
it would cover that corner and that area of strip parking. And technically, that's on the Lord and Taylor building site property, so I don't know how that works out for you, but yeah, take a look at that, please.
Absolutely.
What else? I think you got most of my questions with everyone else. Conversation in West also, but this is a public hearing, so it is open. I'll entertain any questions from the public. Name, address, and 3 minutes or so would be great.
Good evening. I'll keep my comments short. My name is Jacob Sonner. I'm an attorney with the law firm of Phillips Lytle LLP. We're counsel for HBC Victor LLC, the owner of the adjacent parcel in the former Lord and Taylor building. My firm and my partner, Craig Leslie, submitted a letter to the planning board dated January 27th, 2025. I won't repeat its comments in their entirety. To summarize, HBC has an objection to the application that's been presented before the board today on a couple grounds. Again, very briefly, the violation of a construction operation reciprocal easement agreement that HBC Victor has with the mall operator Wilmerite, and also a notice issue. And I would just ask the board's permission to present the letter that was submitted to the chair and have it be part of the record of today's proceedings.
Okay, we all have copies of it, but you're
Okay.
welcome, you're glad, I'm glad to
Just for the
accept it again.
record.
Sure, no problem.
Unless the board has any other questions, HBC Victor just reserves all of its rights.
Okay.
How are you going to address that?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Going forward, how are you going to address that?
Well, Your Honor, Your Honor, I'm talking like I'm in court, geez.
Ernie's retired.
Yeah. Well, I think HPC Victor doesn't have any other choice but to leave all of its options open, so whether that's in litigation or some other avenue. But obviously, this is a public hearing, so to keep the record clear, it was important for HPC Victor to be present today and note its objection.
Are there ongoing negotiations of any kind?
None that I can speak to. Well, I should be clear, I cannot speak about it, let's put it that way.
Can you say whether there are or whether there aren't?
I can't either way.
Not even that?
No, I'm sorry.
Well, good luck.
Thank you.
Anyone else from the public have questions? Dave? Our perennial public attendee.
Gotta protect the public. Dave Nankin from 1174 Chaucer. Just curious, this motel is 60 foot tall? Is that
40,
right?
it's
60?
4 stories, 12 foot per story, that's 48 plus.
Okay.
Oh.
Okay, then I was just wondering, at the portal area, how much taller is that portal up on the top where they have, I guess?
Oh, up this?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Than the rest of the motel?
Good question. I don't, applicant have,
Presented the highest elevation.
I can definitely not hear that on the recording.
Yeah, right.
Just to let you know, I will not have a clue.
Yeah, so that architectural feature is the highest point of the building, which is referred to as the 58 feet, and then the actual building, or the wall heights are below that.
okay. So to get that, Dave, that's 58 feet right there. Okay. Anyone else? Questions? Like to? All right. I don't know, we could probably close the public hearing. Unless we have, wait until we get answers. Yeah. Yeah. All right, we'll leave it open. Say for bet, allow anything else that might come up to have the public make comments on.
Yeah, so probably in the near future, Labella is going to be helping to address or helping the planning board to complete part 2 and part 3 of the EAF. So we've got some homework that we've got to do and also be sure that the plans are in order. So we'll also chat with the town attorney on moving forward as well.
Okay. Yeah, and that would be, his advice would, I guess, drive us to be able to or not to be able to advance to the next preliminary plan approval, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh. All right. So with that, we'll move on to the next item, which is the last item this evening. Thank you. Item 7, Bluestone Trail, formerly 7200 Rawson Road. This would be the residential piece of this application.
Good evening again, Ryan Destro from BME Associates and Jim Barbado representing the applicant. Rawson Community LLC is here with me tonight. Tonight we are seeking preliminary subdivision approval for the Bluestone Trail project, formerly known as 7200 Rawson Road. To recap from our last appearance before this board, July 9th, 2024, the subject property located at 7200 Rawson Road was rezoned by the town board on December 18th, 2023, from limited industrial LI to PDD, Plan Development District. The town board, as part of the PDD rezoning, approved the development for 59 for-sale residential townhome lots on the 18.5 acre parcel. On April 9th, 2024, the planning board approved the sketch plan application for this project as complete. On April 10th, 2024, the Ontario County Planning Board voted unanimously in favor of this project. Then on May 29th, 2024, the Planning Board classified this project as a Type 1 action. And the Planning Board declared their intent to be lead agency and also start the seeker coordinated review. Then on July 9th, 2024, the seeker coordinated review was completed and the Planning Board designated themselves lead agency. Since that, the public hearing was held open and the seeker determination was delayed This was because, waiting for a new intermunicipal agreement to be reached between the town of Victor and the village of Victor, and this was to determine which municipality was going to accept the sanitary sewer flows from this project. All preliminary subdivision comments that have been received from the municipal staff as well as the town engineer have been responded to in writing, and the preliminary subdivision plans have been updated accordingly. Finally, on February 7th, 2025, just recently, the Village of Victor did provide a letter which states our current flow, and this is meaning at their village treatment plant, will allow the Bluestone Trail to discharge into the village's system. So now that that has been resolved, once again, the preliminary subdivision plans are consistent with the site layout shown on the concept plan that was approved by the town board as part of the PDD rezoning process. We now look forward to the planning board being able to move forward with the seeker determination and then also granting preliminary subdivision approval. So with that being said, I'm happy to answer any of your questions.
Are there any outstanding questions from the board before we move on to the Part 2 environmental assessment review? Joe, questions? Do you have any questions for the applicant before we move on to the seeker process?
No, I'm looking forward to this.
Okay. Scott?
I think he answered, I recall there were two items outstanding in my mind from the last time this project came before us. One was sanitary sewer, which was answered. And the second one is the fill and the compaction and the assurance of that material that was placed there. So I guess we'll address that in the Part 2.
Okay. Ernie?
Yeah, it's hard for me to remember all these things we get, but is this present map that's before us, says it shows 59?
59 units, correct.
What has been presented in the past?
Since we started the PDD rezoning process a couple years ago, it's always been 59 lots.
Always been 59?
I'm sorry, there was,
There were 8 single-family homes.
there was 8 single-family homes that were further along on Rawson Road. They've been eliminated, so now it's just the grouping of the townhome unit, 59 townhome units.
At one time, there was a couple more. 61, then brought back to 59.
51. My apologies.
Yeah, right. Okay.
I have one other question.
Sure.
Does the new stormwater permit and the new DEC regulations effective January, do they affect you in this application before us?
No, we did provide a letter or a memo to the town staff as well as the town engineer. I do have it on record here. I'll read it just for the record too. The Bluestone Trail Project, 7200 Rawson Road, received a New York State DEC jurisdictional determination on December 1st, 2023, which expires 5 years after the date of issuance, as stated on the attached JD, which we submitted with this memo. At the time of the delineation, one wetland was identified within the Bluestone Trail property and evaluated by the DEC, and the DEC staff concurred, with BME's delineation. Thus, the DEC has already claimed jurisdiction over the subject wetland, and the new DEC regulations do not impact the wetland or buffer limits that are shown on our plans. No disturbance is proposed within the delineated wetland limits as part of the Bluestone Trail project.
Was the question about SWIP? About the
Yeah, does that affect you guys?
Hang on, dude.
Yeah, Jim Barbado. We just got the memo from the DEC today that we have a continuation of our SWIP in order confirmed moving forward, because they do it with all of our projects. They changed some regs and we had to reapply or do something with the DEC, and that's all set here.
So you already had a SWIP in place for the...
We did,
for
just
the
replacing
framework
the
you were doing?
fill.
Okay.
Keith, you have something you want to add?
And then we have the memo saying that continuing coverage now is in place.
Okay,
Thanks.
thank you.
Yep.
Three people talking at once.
Sorry.
Make a motion.
Two big topics.
Take your word for it.
Okay, I appreciate the answer.
All right. Just one question regarding, because it was up in the air at the time, the sanitary sewer pump station, is that still going on the north?
Yes, that is
Corner of
the lowest portion of the
there,
property, so
yes.
that is the northwestern corner. That is actually lot 60.
Mhm.
That's to be dedicated to the town or village, town in this scenario. And then it's pumping back up to an existing manhole that's located just north of Rawson Road in that area in front of the light industrial building.
Yeah. So you're gonna have to basically, everything's gonna flow down here, and then it's gonna pump all the way back to there?
Correct.
Okay.
And also on lot 60 is the proposed maintenance shed that the applicant worked in coordination with the Victor Hiking Trails Association.
So that's still part of the proposal?
Yes.
Okay. I thought I might have heard that Victor Hiking Trails was looking at another opportunity, maybe somewhere else, but.
If they are.
Dave's here, he could answer that question.
What was the question?
Come on up. Regarding the shed, I guess, or that has been part of the vision on this one, if you guys needed.
Yes,
Right
yes,
here?
we still don't have a building for storing our equipment. We're still renting. And so we're still looking to have a building there. And my understanding is that the builder will provide the pad, but we have to provide the building. So, yeah.
He's provided the town a parcel. So yes, you get the pump station, then you have space for
Right.
your shed
Yeah.
that needs to be
Yeah,
constructed there on site.
yeah, and I believe the pad for the shed would be closer to the Auburn and the pump.
Yeah, I think they're
would be
kind of
closer
showing
to
it
the-
as a yellow,
Yes.
Yes.
and then the
Yeah.
pump station is right next to it.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay. So that is part, a potential, we'll call it
Yes,
that.
yeah.
You may still choose to build one somewhere else or here.
Well,
Here, or- I don't know how long it's gonna
Yeah,
take them to get a
I mean-
pad ready, if you can use it. If you have to have something before when they actually make a pad available.
Right, right. And that's why I was talking to Mr. Elliott about pole barns. Not as big as his, but.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay?
All right, thank you, Dave.
Joe, I've got an additional question. I noticed in the fire marshal's comments, he's looking at a 26-foot roadway. The plans show 22-foot. I'm curious what we're going to end up with, 26. It appears the fire marshal has the option to dictate the width of the road. So I'm curious where we're going with that.
Yeah, so the 26-foot wide width is for an aerial apparatus road. That is for when you have structures that are higher than 35 feet in height. The way the code reads for the height of these buildings, it's the height to the eave of the two-story structures, which is going to be less than 25 feet. Or 35 feet. I did respond in writing to that comment, and then therefore it would not be subject to the 26-foot width. We are proposing town standard roads per the town details, so they should be able to adequately support any of the emergency vehicles, school buses that would be anticipated to utilize this development.
But they are private roads, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. And the width again was, I'm sorry?
22-foot wide.
22? What the minimum was? for private road?
Does that, so I don't have my plan sheet up. Does that include a
Gutter? maybe?
gutter, 2.5-foot wide gutter on each side?
That would be in addition to the 22-foot wide pavement width. So you'd have 2.5-foot wide, so you'd have an extra 5 feet wide.
So that's a
27-foot wide total
27 foot.
pavement.
Got it.
So you mentioned that 22-foot width is going to be adequate for buses as well. So this is a private road. Are the people with any school kids going to be walking their kids out to Rawson Road then?
An agreement would have to be made with the school district, but the roads do allow for school buses to enter the property if the radius is provided.
I'm looking at phase one, and it looks like it's going to dead end.
So there would be an approved dead end, which would support, it would meet the International Fire Code requirements. It would support a fire truck to turn around and also a school bus as well.
So there would be a turnaround at the end of the street? Okay.
Correct.
And the detail that you've provided in your plan set shows 22 feet of pavement plus concrete gutters.
Yep, and then at the end of the roadway pavement closest to the pump station, that's also an approved turnaround for emergency vehicles as well.
This is
and school
like a
buses
hammerhead, right?
Could utilize that as well, correct.
Okay.
Thank you.
Could we get any input from the fire marshal on this regarding the road?
We got a letter, that's what you were talking about.
What the applicant has sent in some additional information that Consider it?
Right, he has not responded back to that.
Okay, thank you.
Best course of action regarding public hearing probably would be to go through part 2.
Before we go through seeker, I guess I would suggest closing the public hearing before we go through
Okay.
seeker.
All right, so in that case, we have an open floor.
Right.
I know there are some people here that are for this application, so does anyone wish to approach the board with any questions for the applicant or regarding this application? Busy night for Dave.
Dave Nankin at 1174 Chaucer Court. In Silverton Glen, Morels had a nice feature with their basements. It's a 7-course block basement. People just like to put in, fix up their basements, no matter. I've been many one-person households, more than enough room on the top, but they want to put their basements finished. And that extra block does, helps a great deal. I liked it. Would that be here also? Would they be planning to use a 13 block basement also? Question about the shed. Who has authority over that shed?
It'll be the town's Parks Department, Victor Hiking Trails will be using it, and it's the town, on town property.
Okay, but, I mean, there are all kinds of sheds and everything. Would the Morels have final say in what it looks like, to correspond with their...
Well, they're not building it.
That's the reason I'm saying that,
Yeah.
Would they...
Oh, are they going to have a critical eye to
Right,
us?
because they
don't want
have
it
their
looking
sheds and
ugly?
their sheds, and there's
Yeah.
only a certain amount of money the poor people at the trail have to spend on these things.
Interesting question.
And is there a storm sewer, let me see, right in this area? Because I imagine there'll be, runoff from the gutter. I think last meeting, they said that the gutters will be surface, let out on the surface, not part of the,
Well, they may end
Storm
up
sewer.
towards the retention pond to the northwest,
that area just is landlocked, sort of. You know what I'm saying?
right here,
No.
because every runoff all goes
Here.
off to the north.
This one. That area.
Oh, I see.
Backyard to backyard.
Yeah, I don't know which way it's draining. I don't have a plan set up in front of me, but I can find it.
And I hate to implicate myself. I took a walk back the road that's there to the back, and there's approximately an 8 or 10 foot drop on the far west corner. I mean, are the buildings going to go that far? It goes down quite a bit, or is it be filled in, or?
Be careful walking back there.
Well, I only did it once, and I won't do it
You
again.
shouldn't be walking back.
I know it, but.
So the
I'm
question is,
curious.
what kind of contours are going to end up?
Yes, I
Are they
mean,
gonna raise
it's
the
everything
whole
the same level.
level? I mean, there's a lot of fill that was brought in from various sites in town.
Right.
The intention of using that to, I assume, level off house pads around the driveways that are being built. So,
Right, but that
like I
means it's
said,
quite a drop though back there. And it looks like at least an acre, maybe more.
According to their grading plan, that side's a walkout.
Are there walkouts? On which side?
It would be on the north side. I'm looking at the grading plan.
You're correct.
Thank you.
Oh, I
That's-
see.
that's a
Yeah,
good way to
yeah,
look
there's
at
a,
it.
there's a slope in between the four buildings on the curve there and the private road A. How are you looking?
Yeah, I'm looking at units like
Oh, right.
16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22.
Yeah, they're all higher,
Those-
there's a
those
drainage
all-
that wraps around the whole site and goes northwest.
There's drainage that wraps around the site and goes northwest, but in response to his
Mhm.
observation that falls off on that side, that's correct, but the grading plan takes that into consideration.
Yeah, so, yes, it'll be walkouts, it looks like on the easterly side of the loop, buildings on that outer loop. I'm not sure what you're asking, Dave.
Well, I mean, it's, if you would walk back there, you would see, I mean, it's level here, you're walking through and it's all pretty much level, and then it drops precipitously.
It's showing 8 feet drop from front to back of the
Okay,
townhomes.
yeah, 8 foot at least, yeah, okay, but there'll be
They're
townhomes
grading
down there.
up to the road, and the buildings will be built on a slope,
Okay,
so the basements will become exposed.
We'll have an exposed
Back
basement
side.
on that side.
okay.
You won't know it from the road, but you'll see it through, in between buildings and in the back, from the hiking trail, probably.
Well, and one other question, fire hydrants, how many do we have in there? Where,
I don't know offhand. You know how many hydrants we,
Not offhand, there's at least 3 or 4 on the site.
Okay.
There's basically 500 foot spacing.
there'll be adequate fire coverage, it looks like.
thank you very much.
Okay.
And the fire marshal has to sign off on the
Yeah.
plans too.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
anyone else?
Good evening. Marcia Sengus, 1231 Wellington. Just a quick question. Is all the fill done, or is there have to be more fill coming in?
I can't answer that question. The developer may need more fill for the site, but there's a lot of it on site already. Yeah,
Would you like me to answer that?
yeah.
Some fill has been brought in. There's also been adjustments to the grading plan to massage the site, so we could maintain a balance with what's there. Some additional fill may be required, but it should be minimal at this point.
Thank you.
But either way, we would still be within the parameters that were established with the fill permit application.
Okay,
Okay, it was just, I know in the past, they had certain hours and certain days, and we always understood that there was to be more fill, but we didn't really know how much.
Mhm.
Thank you.
okay. Anyone else? Okay, entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So move.
So moves.
Second.
Ernie seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, public hearing's closed. And Wes? Or two, take it away.
Yeah, so, we could be here for a long time. I've got, in addition to, where are we here? Does everybody have a copy of part 2 of the EAF?
Yes.
Okay, so I've got a narrative attachment that goes with the part 2. Helps explain some of the answers that we've got here.
Oh, I guess I would suggest if we go through here and find a bullet point that needs elaboration, that we dive into this on that particular point, rather than reading everything that you've written in front of us.
And I'm also happy to bring up, if we need it, if we want to go through the DEC's EAF workbook. Let's see, part 2 of the EAF. Does the applicant have a copy of the draft part 2? You do?
You gave it to me at the beginning,
Okay.
or he did.
Do you need a copy? Okay. Okay, as you know, the lead agency, the Victor Planning Board, is responsible for filling out Part 2 of the EAF. The applicant filled out Part 1, so we're working on Part 2 this evening. I've also got Part 3 available if we're ready for that. So the impact on land, we do know that the project is going to have an impact on land, right? It's going to involve construction on, it's going to involve physical alteration of the land surface of the proposed site. So that checkbox is marked yes. And underneath this, the sub-questions there, I've got them all marked as no or small impact. And the other option, in lieu of no or small impact, is the planning board could evaluate and say, oh, that's a moderate or that's a large impact, right? So, for example, A, the proposed action may involve construction on land where depth to water table is less than 3 feet. Generally, the water table is deeper than 3 feet, and especially in the location of where the project is going to be constructed, so it's no or small impact.
Wes, is that 3 feet from existing grade?
Yes.
Finished grade from a,
Existing grade.
okay,
Yep.
thanks.
The proposed action may involve construction on slopes 15% or greater. We've got no or small impact. Proposed action may involve construction on land where bedrock is exposed or generally within 5 feet of the existing ground surface. No or small impact. Those conditions don't appear to exist. The proposed action may involve the excavation and removal of more than 1,000 tons of natural material. No or small impact. I'm not aware that the project is going to involve removal of more than 1,000 tons of material. The proposed action may involve construction that continues for more than 1 year or in multiple phases. We know this project is proposed in 2 phases, and it may take more than 1 year to construct both phases. I've got that marked as no or small impact. The proposed action may result in increase in erosion, whether from physical disturbance or vegetation, no or small impact. The proposed action may be located within the coastal erosion hazard area. There's no impact there. Impact on geological features. The proposed action may result in the modification or destruction of or inhibit access to any unique, unusual landforms on the site. And that we've just indicated as no. We don't have any geological features on the site. Impact on surface water. The answer is yes. There will be an impact. The proposed action may affect one or more wetlands or other surface waters. Not for a fact that it's going to impact wetlands. It just says may. And so we do know there's a stream on site, and there's also a wetland on site. And
Do you consider impacts construction on or within a buffer zone?
yeah,
Or-
that would be an impact.
Okay, but I mean, if you're outside of all that with all your construction, you could still impact wetlands because of what runoff from the site, or?
I suppose you could, right? And we have an erosion and sediment control plan that would look to minimize or avoid that impact to the surface water.
Okay.
Yep. So the proposed action may create a new water body. It's going to create a new stormwater management facility, rather small. It's going to be maintained, so there's no or small impact to the surface water there. Proposed action may result in an increase or decrease of over 10% or more than a 10-acre increase or decrease in the surface area of any water body. We don't have that. Proposed action may involve dredging more than 100 cubic yards of material. No. Proposed action may involve construction within or adjoining a freshwater or tidal wetland or in a bed or banks of any other water body. So this is where the construction is not adjoining a freshwater tidal wetland. There's one nearby, but it's not adjacent. There's a separation in there. The proposed action may create turbidity in a water body, either from upland erosion, runoff, or by disturbing bottom sediments, no or small impact. The proposed action may include construction of one or more intakes for withdrawal of water from surface water. We don't have that scenario. The proposed action may include construction of one or more outfalls for discharge of wastewater to surface waters. We don't have that issue. We don't have that scenario here, so it's no impact. The proposed action may cause soil erosion or otherwise create a source of stormwater discharge that may lead to siltation or other degradation of receiving water bodies. No to small impact. The proposed action may affect the water quality of any water bodies within or downstream of the site. We've got no or small impact. The proposed action may involve the application of pesticides or herbicides in and around a water body. No or small impact. The proposed action may require the construction of new or expansion of existing wastewater treatment facilities. That is no or small impact as well. Any questions on that one?
Nope.
So you also see that the sheet that I handed out that's associated with this, you might be following along with that too. It kind of gives some rationalization as to why we've checked no or small impact on these items. Impact on groundwater. The proposed action may result in new or additional use of groundwater or may have the potential to introduce contaminants to groundwater or an aquifer. So, A, the proposed action may require new water supply wells or create additional demand on water supplies from existing water supply wells. So, there's no impact here as the project will be served by the Monroe County Water Authority, the public water supply. B, the water supply demand from the proposed action may exceed safe and sustainable withdrawal capacity rates of local supply or aquifer. So the proposed water supply, the demand is 16,225 gallons per day, according to Part 1 of the EAF that the applicant filled out, and that can be provided by the Monroe County Water Authority. Adequate water supply and pressure is available in the public main along Rawson Road, which will be extended into the proposed development. Therefore, the town does not anticipate an impact in this regard. C, the proposed action may allow or result in residential uses in areas without water or sewer services. We got no impact there. The proposed action may include or require wastewater discharge to groundwater. The action will not discharge wastewater to ground or groundwater. All wastewater will be collected and conveyed to a proposed sanitary sewer system, to an existing municipal treatment plant, in this case, the village wastewater treatment plant, therefore no impact. E, the proposed action may result in the construction of water supply wells in locations where groundwater is or is suspected to be contaminated. No impact there. F, the proposed action may require the bulk storage of petroleum or chemicals products over the groundwater. We don't have that impact here. The proposed G, the proposed action may involve the commercial application of pesticides within 100 feet of potable drinking water or irrigation sources. So the project site is not located within 100 feet of potable water or irrigation source, so we've got no impact there.
Is there a natural gas supply line that's going to be provided on this site from Rawson Road?
That's a good question. I'd have to look at the plans here.
You do? There's gas service, and you're going to provide that to the homes on the site? Yes, you have to get up and...
There is natural gas. We have will serve letters from RG&E for gas and electric. But New York State's been talking about eliminating gas in new construction for a while now. And it seems that date keeps getting pushed back when that'll actually take effect. So if the code were to change, we wouldn't bring in gas, but right now our intent is...
It's possible, and it is.
Our intent is to do
That's the
so
intent.
as long as the code doesn't say no more natural gas.
Okay, I kind of had that in the back of my mind, that maybe, but,
Yeah, the timing has been a moving target.
okay, thank you.
Sure.
All right, Russ, thanks.
Okay. So number 5, we're moving on here in the EAF. Impact on flooding. The proposed action may result in development on lands subject to flooding. We've indicated no here.
I don't have a number 5.
Number 6, impacts on air. The proposed action may include a
Gotta
state...
have this one,
I
too.
don't have that one.
Yeah, I didn't get one either.
What do you need, guys?
Oh, so there, most of the
Yes or no?
instances where I've got the narrative associated with Part 2,
5 and 6 are no, so you didn't supply
Right.
any explanation for that.
right.
That help, Bernie?
He's got the other form now. I think he's okay. You have that, so you should have everything.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. So impacts on air, the proposed action may include a state-regulated air emission source, and the answer to that is no.
Mhm.
So number 7, impacts on plants and animals. The proposed action may result in a loss of flora or fauna. We've indicated yes here, right? The proposed project does not contain habitat for endangered or threatened species, flora or fauna, as identified through the New York State DEC EAF mapper. The project site contains no vegetation of value, as its primary makeup is scrub brush and successional growth. The site has previously been disturbed through prior fill operations. Therefore, no or small potential impacts are anticipated to plants or animals identified with this property or project. So that kind of explains the rationale on A, B, C, and D as all being no or small impacts. And also for example, subparagraph E, the proposed action may diminish the capacity of a registered national natural landmark to support the biological community it was established to protect. We've got no impact there. F, the proposed action may result in the removal of or ground disturbance in any portion of the designated significant natural community. We've got no impact. We don't have any of those designated significant natural communities here. The proposed action may substantially interfere with nesting, breeding, foraging, or overwintering habitat for the predominant species that occupy or use the project site. So we've got small impact here. And then with subparagraph H, the proposed action requires a conversion of more than 10 acres of forest, grassland, or any other regionally or locally important habitat. We've got no or small impact. I should note that Part 1 of the EAF does describe that there would be a loss of 10 acres of grass, shrubland, just the subsequent growth that's happened there over the course of time. So, but the project also does conserve a significant amount of property within a 7.17 acre conservation easement, and the project will also reestablish lawns.
Mm-hmm.
And subparagraph I is not applicable as it relates to commercial and industrial and recreational projects only. So number 8, impact on agricultural resources. The proposed action may impact ag resources. I've indicated yes here only in the sense, there's only one reason why I've got indicated yes. It's not an active farmland. It's not active farmland. There's not an agricultural district on it. The town's comp plan soils mapping identifies an isolated instance of prime ag soils on the project parcel. But, and that's, that's an agricultural resource, prime soils. But this is not part of a larger prime soils area. It's really kind of isolated, and it's.
I would have checked this off as no.
Yeah. Well, and so here's the thing. This is just my
that's fine.
draft, and if
Yeah.
you want to change it, this is your document, so we can do that if you choose.
I mean, you've defended it, and it's fine.
Yeah.
Isolated, and the whole site's been disturbed, plus half the site has been put fill on, it seems like, from outside. So I would say no, and not even deal with this. So, I mean, the effect is the same, but I would just put no. And you can leave your paragraph in there.
Okay.
So, so that would be my vote on that particular item.
It seems like the consensus at the table. Okay.
I know you're being conservative, that's fine.
Yeah. Impact on aesthetic resources. The land use of the proposed action are obviously different from or are in sharp contrast to current land use patterns between the proposed project and a scenic or aesthetic resource. So again, here, I don't feel, even though I've checked yes, I don't feel that there's been an identified documented scenic or aesthetic resource that's recognized either on the national level, state level, or even local level. However, we do recognize that the Auburn Trail is immediately adjacent to this project, and that's a publicly accessible trail. And people, when they go use a multi-use trail like that, oftentimes they appreciate the value that it provides in terms of the nature, the natural environment, that sort of thing. So I think maybe there ought to be some consideration given to the aesthetics of the project from the Auburn Trail.
I agree with that take.
Okay. All right.
Some general consensus?
Yeah.
Okay.
So subparagraph A, the proposed action may be visible from any officially designated federal, state, or local scenic or aesthetic resource. Again, here I've got indicated no or small impact. B, the proposed action may result in the obstruction, elimination, or significant screening of one or more officially designated scenic views. No or small impact. The proposed action may be visible from publicly accessible vantage points. For example, the Auburn Trail, either seasonally, screened by summer foliage but visible during other seasons. I've indicated no or small impact, or year-round, no to small impact. B, the situation or activity in which viewers are engaged while viewing the proposed action is it, for example, 1, routine travel by residents, including travel to and from work. I've got no or small impact. It's really more based on recreation, that subparagraph 2 there, recreation or tourism-based activities. Again, probably a small impact in that regard. The proposed action may cause a diminishment of the public enjoyment and appreciation of the designated aesthetic resource. Got no or small impact. F, there are similar projects visible within the following distance of the proposed project. Up to a half a mile, half to 3 miles, 3 to 5 miles, and 5 or more miles. I've just indicated no or small impact there. Any need to revisit those in more detail?
Hey, what about Wellington, which is right across the road?
Are you talking about a resource meaning another development or another, like, trail project or some other, park?
Yeah, so I wouldn't, the project is going to be visible from the public roadway. It's going to be visible from the adjoining neighborhood across the street. That's right. But I don't know that's what this particular EAF question is trying to get at. I think it's really trying to focus on either a scenic resource or something that's designated.
Or something that's vastly different
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I tend to think this is kind of in agreement with what's across the street. Not exactly the same, but it's close.
Okay.
Definitely a small impact.
Yeah.
Oh. All right.
Okay. Number 10, impact on historic and archaeological resources. I've had to check yes here. The proposed action may occur in or adjacent to historic or archaeological resources. So, according to the New York State Archaeological Site Location Map, the project site does not fall within the limits of any documented archaeologically potentially sensitive areas, except for a minor portion of the property in the northeastern portion of the site behind the existing building. So that's actually on the adjacent parcel, industrial parcel, which is to remain undisturbed. After review, the New York State Office of Parks, Rec, and Historic Preservation issued a no-effect letter dated in July 7, 2015.
So if it's on a separate parcel now, aren't we a no?
Well, that's a good, fair question. And I'm looking at the question on under 10. It says the proposed action may occur in or adjacent to a historic archaeological resource.
Okay, so the adjacent, I guess,
think
makes it a yes.
that might
Okay,
capture it.
Fair enough.
That might capture
What's
it.
the archaeological resource?
They won't tell me. It doesn't say.
Well, it's not the industrial building,
Yeah.
and it's not the Auburn Trail. I mean, technically it could be, I suppose.
It's not the site, because that's not
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
That's not the
So-
original site anymore.
Yeah. It's a little frustrating when it's so nebulous like that, so.
Yep.
Yeah, the effect is the same. It's no significant impact.
So for each of the subparagraphs, I've got no or small impact. Okay.
Okie dokie.
Number 11, impact on open space and recreation. The proposed action may result in a loss of recreational opportunities or a reduction of an open space resource as designated in any adopted municipal or open space plan. I've indicated no.
Mhm.
Number 12, impact on critical environmental areas. The proposed action may be located within or adjacent to a critical environmental area? The answer to that is no. Again, there are no state designated or DEC designated critical environmental areas in the town of Victor. Impact on transportation, number 13, the proposed action may result in a change to existing transportation systems. I've indicated yes here. And there's been an evaluation back during the review of the planned development district, the rezoning. There was a traffic study that was done by Passero Associates that was reviewed by the town's traffic consultant, CPL. And the town's traffic consultant indicated that they concur with the conclusion that this development, the Passero conclusion, that this development would have a negligible impact on the adjacent roadway network. So, that's just a short way of saying that I've indicated here no or small impact to the subparagraphs. So, for example, A, projected traffic increase may exceed the capacity of the existing road network. There's no or small impact there. B, the proposed action may result in the construction of paved parking areas for 500 or more vehicles. Well, we don't have that scenario. The proposed action will degrade existing transit access. We don't have that scenario. The proposed action will degrade existing pedestrian or bicycle accommodations. That's not the case here. The proposed action may alter the present pattern of movement of people or goods, and there's no or small impact. Any questions? No? Okay.
I got a question.
Sir.
I'm going to circle back on the existing fill situation and my prior comment last time this application came before us. In my experience, I've seen projects like this, and I've seen settlement after the fact. And what I think would make me happy, and perhaps the board as well, is to have a geotechnical engineer weigh in on the quality of the fill, the way it was placed, and the ability of it to handle fire trucks, school buses, utilities without settlement such as water mains, those sorts of things. We have a kind of a unique site here. Unless I'm missing something, it looks like there's probably 10 or 12 feet of fill that's been placed out there.
And most of it, a lot of it will be reworked, moved to other parts of the site, right?
Right, and I guess I go back quite a ways to, and I'm sure the builder developer knows this too, that we always try to put our footings into native soil. And I think when you're at this depth of fill, that's a hard one to handle.
And if you could step up, I have a follow-up question to that. And can you tell us how much lower the finish grade will be from the top of the fill?
So it's not up to 12 feet of fill. It is less than that. And looking at the grades and the depths of the footers, the houses have been designed so that their basement footers extend beyond the presumed fill layer and then into the native soil below that.
Okay, I guess one of the things that I have seen under a similar situation would be a certification from a geotechnical engineer based on several bores throughout the site, seeing what the soil is at various depths. So we know where the native soil is, we know where the fill soil is, we know its compaction, we know whether it's problematic, or we know whether it's stable as it was placed. So the one thing that kind of jumps out at me is that in the years during which the fill was placed, I mean, unless I'm missing something here, there wasn't monitoring by the town, there weren't field notes or inspection reports by the town or the town engineer. This was something that was done after approval. So in terms of quality control, it is what it is. And I think as much as we go through the part two, there really isn't an item here that speaks to this issue, which I think is kind of important. If I had to identify an area where I think it matters or where it fits, I think it would be on number 1, impact on land, H, other. And I think it is a potential impact. I would like to see that there's no issue associated with it. The fill was placed properly and it has adequate compaction and they can build as they would like to do. But
So
fill sites are risky this way.
So can we address that during I mean, that would still be even if you said that was a moderate or a large impact for that one item, that would not push this to a positive declaration as a seeker item, but it would push us to make sure that that's addressed during the approval phase
Yeah,
of the plan.
I'm not looking to direct this thing into an EIS because I think all the other items are quite minor, quite honestly.
So-
But I think it's an item to reconcile.
So Wes, perhaps if you put in a note about that in part one, impacts on lands, and say that can be mitigated if addressed during design or,
Yeah,
plan
minimize,
approval.
you're looking to minimize or avoid the potential impact there, right? And I'm in concurrence with you that just because if the planning board decides to check moderate to large impact with regard to the fill, the placement of fill, and what's going on there, that doesn't necessarily automatically get you to a pos deck, right?
One other thought that I have is you have a geotech on staff, if I remember right.
Yep.
I would yield to, his opinion based on what we're talking about and see if his advice is along a similar line.
And I'd also suspect that if the applicant were to look back at the site grading prior to placement of all the fill over the years, that at least they could identify that all the footings were below that interface, which
Yeah,
it sounds like it will be. And then that would be at the bare minimum. You would want to make sure that happened. And then we could look at, from a geotechnical perspective, would it be prudent to get any soil compaction testing or soil density testing for the sake of constructing foundations out at the site?
Yeah, I've presented my opinions, but I think I'd like to turn it over to the geotechnical engineer with LaBelle and get that person to weigh in on it. I'd be surprised if there's a vastly different take on it, but I think that's the person who should weigh in here.
A question, when you talked about potential certifications from a geotechnical engineer, would those certifications, would you envision them coming as part of the construction process where there's a geotechnical engineer witnessing the distribution or the repositioning of soils and then somehow providing a certification that they're comfortable or they feel that
Yeah.
the placement of the soils?
Before we go with that further, I don't want to see the town's engineers certifying that the
Right.
soils are compacted properly. What it sounds like you're saying is they would provide assurance to the town from a professional that states that there's adequate
Right.
That's the way I would
consolidation or
envision it.
compaction.
That's what I'm getting at.
I don't want to go too far afield with what we're
Right.
asking Labella to do because that's not their job.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
but I guess I'm just weighing in on them as a resource to communicate with, to verify.
That,
this
I
is
would
a-
agree that
this
that
is
would
a-
be part of, something just like an architect or a site engineer or,
Yeah.
And I think,
waste, all
and I
that.
think the process of doing it is certainly not rare. It's not unusual for site engineers to hire, say, foundation design or some other geotechnical engineers to go out and do this, and have that confidence when it goes to construction. Granted, I understand there's going to be alterations and regrading and that sort of thing, but it'll be also educational and helpful and informative. Maybe we all think that the native soil is at elevation X, and if some bores are taken, we find out it's at elevation Y. It could be a lot of things like that that are learned.
Do you know what all the soils are out at the site? Have you done
yeah,
soil
so-
borings?
I've worked a lot with foundation design with Jim Baker, and I appreciate the conversation. I know that, I don't have knowledge of the fill that was placed 10-plus years ago, because there's been fill brought into the site. And I'm confident that I can get somebody out there and take a look at it, and the stuff that is 10-plus years old, the settlement and compactions happened with that just due to time. And I'm more confident with how the recent fills were placed because we were involved in that process. So I obviously can't speak to what happened 10 years ago. I wasn't involved in the property. But but it's something I can reach out to Jim Baker and have a conversation, just knowing the board is looking for some assurance as far as history on the project. Maybe we do some test pits, look at some bores, see what it looks like in some sample areas where some deeper fills. And then the other piece is I'm confident on the construction of the homes, that we're going to be prudent when we build the houses. We've been doing this for a long time, and make sure our footings are hitting virgin soil, and we're not placing, we're going to have compaction testing done if there's any question, but we're going to get good solid footings for our foundations.
Right.
That's something that's easy to do because it's all just going forward.
Right, but we also have issues with water mains, and we have issues with roadways, fire apparatus, maybe going down this road. Maybe it's not the aerial version, but it'll be another version thereof. So, yes, I agree. If you know where the footings are going, that's great, and if we can check that, that's great too.
Yeah, I'm confident with the footings and that piece of it, because obviously we haven't done that yet, and that's easy to do while you're under construction. You can see it when you're excavating. But I can obviously reach out to Jim Baker and, just have a conversation with some of this property and the history of it, and see what he would suggest as far as some testing to give us some assurance that what's in place is good solid fill. It's been here long enough. We can do some test pits. The water mains will be on solid ground, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think that's where we're coming from.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, because I don't know the history of it 10 plus years ago. It gives me some confidence that it's been so long, that it's not fresh place fill, that's got a lot of settlement to come out of it.
And I think it would give us the confidence too.
Sure. Thanks.
Okay. So Wes, perhaps in that section 1, if we can have a note put in your notes addressing these comments,
Yeah.
and then check, say, moderate, and then that would be something that we would want to look at during, review.
Yep.
And then that would be noted as a requirement in some form. Not sure we can demand everything, but certainly they're going to need to supply us with some assurance that the soil conditions are appropriate at footing elevation for placement of
Yeah.
housing footings, something to that effect.
Okay.
So,
All I would add is, just from our input, I don't know that I would necessarily consider it a moderate impact. It's typical of most site development where you have cuts and fills on all properties. And if we can, if the applicant agrees to have a geotechnical engineer take a look at the property, I think that's typical of most site developments. I don't know that it's necessarily anything out of the ordinary that would kick it to a moderate impact. Just our input, though.
Okay.
all right.
I don't think we have many sites with this much fill on it though.
There's,
Not that I've seen.
yeah, I mean, it depends on what you're talking, cut and fill and roads and everything else. So, I mean, they're going to have to prepare the road base, sub-base and base, so that it's compacted properly in accordance to the town code. And, they don't want it settling any more than,
No,
We
I
would-
realize that. And then, you can certainly prepare the base, but then if you don't know what may or may not be 2 or 3 feet below that. if
yeah, and that would come out their site evaluation for the foundations.
Right.
So,
Yeah, I think we're on the same page. I'm not trying to bring this thing into any
Okay.
more analysis than necessary, just
so
the confidence factor, I think.
what I've asked Wes to do is just to address that comment within
Sure.
section 1 of this part 2. And I guess we can leave it as small impact, because he's going to have to do something with it, not nothing.
Yeah, and if checking the moderate to large kicks us into.
It won't, you can have more than one at moderate impact as long as you're mitigating it somehow.
Okay, so if it's moderate and they mitigate it, as we've discussed, then fine with me.
Okay.
All right.
We'll take care of that. So before we got into that conversation, I think we were on up to number 14, the impact on energy, right? The proposed action may cause an increase in the use of any form of energy. And we know that, yes, there's going to be an increase in use of energy because of the new residential homes. But all of the subparagraphs we've identified as no or small impact. We don't see anything extravagant there. Number 15, impact on noise, odor, and light. Yes, there is going to be, the proposed action may result in an increase in noise, odors, and outdoor lighting. And we know that noise is going to increase during the construction during construction, but the ambient noise levels should return to, the noise levels should return to ambient conditions once the construction is complete. So nowhere small impact with
Yeah.
regard to those items.
Okay.
Impact on human health. The proposed action may have an impact on human health from exposure to new or existing sources of contaminants. The answer to that is no.
Agree.
Consistency with community plans, number 17. The proposed action is not consistent with the adopted land use plans. I've indicated that's a no because it is consistent with adopted land use plans. Consistency with community character. The proposed project is inconsistent with the existing community character. I've indicated that to be no, as it appears to be pretty consistent with what's going on in the neighborhood.
Mhm.
So.
Okay.
Any-
Anybody else have any comments on any of these?
No, I think that's all good.
No? You
No,
all
in
set?
fact, I like the narrative piece that came along
Okay.
with it, so.
So with respect to a couple of items that we talked about, I think we're good.
Yeah, okay.
So do we need, we don't need a part 3 then, because we're not,
Well, so here's where I guess the planning board has a decision to make. If you want to move forward with part 3, given the dialogue that's happened tonight, especially with the fill and the addition to that impact on land in terms of other impacts and fill. I've drafted for your consideration a negative declaration. I've drafted a resolution and some supporting, a reason supporting that determination. However, do you feel comfortable with what's been discussed regarding the fill to move forward with that? Or do you want to obtain more information or see more information from the applicant?
the applicant makes the case that it's not unusual for most sites to do significant earthwork and the associated testing and things that need to be done. I don't see that as a overreaching factor in terms of,
And Joe, you stated before that if indeed it was a moderate impact, if it was corrected, that's okay?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, as long as it's addressed. I mean, you know, whatever level it is, so here's the mitigating factor and addressing the concern on each item. And I don't think we,
I agree. I don't think it should hold up the show tonight. And I think, based on the conversation, I think we have an understanding that it'll be dealt with, and we'll have some more information to work with, right?
Yeah, and I would relay that to like erosion control measures, where surface runoff could be considered an impact, but the measures in place on the SWIP and the erosion control plan mitigate that, then that turns
Right.
it to a no or small impact, and that would be the case for geotechnical support.
Okay.
so Wes did put a negative deck resolution, proposed resolution here.
I've got a lot of paperwork for you before you start reading that.
Yeah,
So what I'm handing out here is a draft resolution, seeker resolution, negative declaration, and then reasons supporting the determination, which goes along, which is an attachment to the Part 3 of the EAF, and it's supporting information for the resolution. And I'd be happy to give a copy to Keith and the applicant too. So there's a copy for you and 2 for the applicant. Don't go away. A copy for you and 2 for the applicant.
yeah, these, or in the meeting minutes, or how are they? Okay. So, you, basically, I could say, see Lisa after the, not after the meeting necessarily, or at least tell you after the meeting that they'd like it if they want.
Yeah, we can have this available. I can enter it into the active file, and if they want a copy of it.
Okay.
All they need to do is ask.
So we don't have any copies right in front of us we can give out to the public at the moment, but please see the planning department, Lisa, if you would like one. And she'll make sure that you can have that. Marcia, you all set? You okay with that? Okay. Sounds like she wants one.
Yeah, I'll send you one tomorrow morning through
What-
email.
So I won't read the reasons supporting determination.
Okay.
I'll let you go through the resolution. You can read the resolution aloud if you'd like and ask for a motion and
Yeah,
second. That's
okay. We have a two-page negative deck motion for a resolution here. So on Bluestone Trail Major Subdivision, whereas on or about March 29th, 2024, the Town of Victor Planning Board received a preliminary subdivision application from BME Associates on behalf of Rawson Community LLC, the applicant authorized by 7200 Rawson Road LLC for the proposed subdivision and development of 59 for-sale residential multi-family townhome units on approximately 18.5 acres at 7200 Rawson Road. Tax map number, does this number change if they just parceled it out?
Well, it will change. Actually, maybe this one won't change. One of them's going to remain the same.
Which one
I
is
believe.
7200
Oh, the building.
building? So,
Right now, it's the same tax map number.
yeah, oh, if it needs to be modified, I guess we'll have to do that. As depicted in the subdivision plan set entitled Bluestone Trail, project number 2397A, drawings 10 through 32, prepared by BME Associates, last revised February 12, 2025, the project. The subdivision application consisting of a letter of intent, application form, subdivision plan, set engineer's report, stormwater pollution prevention plan, full environmental assessment form, EAF, among other submission materials collectively referred to as the application, and whereas the Town of Victor Planning Board, the Planning Board preliminarily classified the project as a Type 1 action pursuant to the New York State Environmental Quality Review Act, Article 8 of the Environmental Conservation Law, and the regulations implemented thereto at 6 NYCRR Part 617, collectively referred to as Seeker A, at the May 29th, 2024 Planning Board meeting, and therefore initiated the lead agency coordination process by transmitting Part 1 of the EAF and pertinent project information to involved and interested agencies. And whereas on behalf of the Planning Board, town staff transmitted Part 1 of the EAF and a copy of the subdivision application to all involved interested agencies, notifying them that the Planning Board intended to serve as lead agency, and whereas no involved agencies objected to the Planning Board being lead agency, or 30 days had passed since Part 1 of the EAF was transmitted to them. Therefore, the Planning Board assumed lead agency status pursuant to Seeker A by resolution on July 9th, 2024. And whereas the Planning Board as lead agency has carefully reviewed the project Part 1 of the EAF, application materials including but not limited to the subdivision plan, letter of intent, and has also carefully reviewed and considered written public comments regarding the application, public comments expressed during the required public hearing for the subdivision application, consultant and outside agency review comments, comments from the Ontario County Planning Board, town traffic engineer, town engineer, and environmental record concerning the application. And whereas the Planning Board has caused the completion of Parts 2 and 3 of the EAF, including attachments thereto, and has carefully reviewed and considered the same along with an expanded elaboration of the Part 3 reasoning, and further considered additional pertinent documents and information, it has not identified the potential for at least one significant adverse environmental impact. Now therefore be it resolved that no potential significant adverse environmental impacts were identified in the proposed project using the criteria for determining significance identified in 6 NYCRR Section 617(7)(c)(1) and in accordance with 6 NYCRR Section 617(7)(c)(2) and 3, and based upon the hard look analysis and other information presented in Parts 1, 2, and 3 of the EAF, the Planning Board hereby determines that the application will not present the potential for a significant adverse environmental impact and hereby issues a negative declaration pursuant to 6 NYCRR Section 617(7) of the Seeker A regulations. And be it further resolved that this resolution has been prepared in accordance with Article 8 of the New York Environmental Conservation Law by the Planning Board of the Town of Victor. And be it further resolved that a notice of negative declaration shall be filed and/or published to the extent required by Seeker A regulations. Any comments on that resolution?
No, I'll move it.
Okay,
Second.
did you,
He seconded.
Scott moved and Ernie second. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Carried 4-0. Okay. I think that's what we have this evening. I suspect the next meeting we would move towards approving the preliminary application. Okay.
I would just like to confirm if there's any additional information that this board needs to proceed with the motion for preliminary subdivision approval.
It might be helpful if you had a geotechnical opinion, or at least an approach to how you would address that.
Yeah, I mean, we could certainly address that at final too, make that as a condition of approval.
Yeah, that we could do. Anything else, Wes, that you can think of?
I'm not sure I've got anything right off the top of my head that we want to request in terms of, providing them a preliminary approval tonight.
Okay.
Labella will have some comments on sanitary sewer configuration and pump station, that sort of thing, just details, but it's not anything that I think has to be addressed as part of this preliminary subdivision application.
So if there's no outstanding items or issues, we could go through a resolution this evening, I suppose.
I've got one drafted if you want to look at it.
Okay. Anybody object to that?
No.
Okay.
I should say that Lisa assembled this resolution, not me.
We try to be prepared. All right, for the Bluestone Trail subdivision, 7200 Rawson Road, application 1 PS 2024. Whereas the planning board made the following findings of fact, and there are 18 of them. Now therefore be it resolved that the preliminary subdivision application of Rawson Community LLC, major subdivision entitled Bluestone Trail subdivision, drawn by BME Associates March 5th, 2024, received by planning board March 29th, 2024, last revised February 12th, 2025. Planning board application 1 PS 2024 be approved with the following conditions. Conditions to be addressed prior to chairman's signature on the site plan. 1 is standard, 2 is standard, 3, location of all conservation easement markers shall be shown on the final plans. Number 4, comments in a letter dated September 18th, 2024 from fire marshal be addressed. I recall that one was driveway width.
Yes.
26 versus 22. I think we've addressed that in conversation this evening, but that should be addressed. Back to the fire marshal. The comments in a letter dated August 22nd, 2024 from code enforcement officer be addressed. Comments in a letter dated April 3rd, 2024 from the landscape consultant be addressed. Comments in a letter dated September 19th, 2024 from Labella Associates be addressed. Wes, do you have any other updated ones from Labella that?
No, we're in the process of putting together an update letter,
Okay.
so that's the latest.
All right. 8, that comments in a letter dated May 8th, 2025. That's
No.
not right.
No,
May 8th, 2024, I'm assuming.
it'll be 24.
Number 8.
For stormwater,
Yeah,
this one?
yeah, that should be
Okay.
2024, right? Since it's not occurred yet.
Right. Future.
Yeah, okay, comments and letter dated April 26, 2024 from Parks and Rec be addressed. Ongoing conditions, 1 is standard, 2 is standard, 3 is highway permit be obtained for installation of road A and B, water main connection, or any other work performed within the town's right-of-way. Number 4, that a request of the planning and building department, a pre-construction meeting shall be held prior to the start of construction.
So number
5 is
5,
highlighted.
you didn't really go over architectural elevation, so
Did we get,
Is-
I thought they had,
they did have some plans they submitted.
have those plans changed, or is your intent on architectural renderings,
The same rendering.
same renderings are, okay.
I think I always can put that into the final.
Yeah, if you could just, yeah.
Yep.
All right. And be it further resolved that the planning board secretary distribute the planning board's approval letter. Before I ask for a motion, anything from this evening's conversation we need to put in here regarding geotech, or is that going to be addressed through comments?
That's a good question. I think I don't think that needs to be here in this resolution. I think we can address that going forward with the final subdivision application.
Okay. All right. And with that, I'll ask for a motion to approve this resolution. Ernie moves.
Second.
And Scott seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Carried 4-0. Moving right along. I got my workout talking tonight, that's for sure.
Thank you for continuing on a long night. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
The longest night in over a year.
So, before we adjourn, Joe made a comment about absences in September, I think, right? That you're not going to be able to be at the two September meetings?
Correct.
Yeah, okay. If anyone else knows of an absence that they can anticipate throughout the year, please let Lisa know. So we can make sure that we arrange, because I know that at least one of those nights I won't be here in September as well. So that would be a 3-person board, so.
Yeah, that'd be tough.
Anything else? Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
But he says aye.
You can't move and second at the same time.
Yeah, all right.
Joe beat me by a half a second.
Night, everyone.
Night.